What's up, Soul Tribe family? This is your girl Soliel, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Seek Conversations, our mental health podcast for resilient humans on the grow. This podcast exists to share stories of resilience, to create global community, and for you to discover new ways to thrive via the brave voices of others. And I'm so excited today to have our guest, Shannon Jones. She's going to be joining us in just a few minutes while I go over some announcements, because it's been a while since I've seen y'all. Not that long, because I did a live recently reconnecting with you all to say happy Mental Health Awareness Month and to let you know, baby, I took a month off and was taking care of myself, okay? So I hope you're doing well. We're going to talk about how y'all are doing, how our guest is doing, how I'm doing once we get into our segment where we check in this for today's episode. So I'm going to pause real quick to do some announcements. And we're going to get into this episode. I am super excited for y'all to meet Shannon and for y'all to just reconnect with us again this month. So very excited. All right, so first off, if you don't know, our 4-year anniversary is coming up in July, and we are dropping something so dope, and it's very possible that we're going to have another in-person event this year. So if you missed it last year, you wanted to be there with us, I need for y'all to come on through and have a great time with us if you missed it last year. It was absolutely amazing, and I cannot believe how fast another month has gone by. Crazy work, but we are blessed. We still have your support, and I'm so grateful for it. Also, if you are not aware, we did release for Mental Health Awareness Month this month in May our new Shining a Light Mental Wellness t-shirt. So it says Shining a Light on Mental Health. When you see this on YouTube, it will be flipped the correct way because Instagram always changing something, and now I can't mirror my video when I go live. Let me see if they changed it back. Let's see. And if you're in here, feel free to share this with some friends so they can come on in the room. Yeah, I don't even see. Okay. Yeah, they didn't, child. I ain't even about to fool with it, but yeah, they changed it. You used to be able to put any type of filter on here, but they've lessened the amount of filters that you have to choose from. But baby, it is what it is. Catch the replay on YouTube, okay? Let's see. What else can I update y'all on? I'm excited for this drop that's happening in July. It's going to be crazy. Y'all going to be really excited about it. We have had a very small focus group give us their feedback on what we are dropping, and they are excited. They gave great feedback. So listen, I appreciate y'all. What's up, Tanya? Thank you for joining us. We're about to have our guest come in the Soul Seat, Miss Shannon Jones. So feel free to invite some friends. And thank you. Welcome. I know that you are a new follower of ours. So shout out to you. Thank you for being part of the Soul Tribe. And we're going to toast to that. Ain't nothing but some water up in this cup, child. But we're going to toast to that because we love expanding our Soul Tribe family and bringing people on that care about not only their mental health, but the state of our world and the collective mental wellness of all of our sisters and brothers. So we're going to do that. I got a couple more things I want to say, and then we'll bring Shannon on in the room, y'all. So if you are new here, and you don't know what Soul Rise Essentials is, because this is just one version that we create community with what I do. Soul Seek Conversations is our mental health podcast, but who we are, Soul Rise Essentials, we create mental wellness apparel, jewelry, accessories for resilient humans on the grow. So essentially people who are making themselves a bigger, brighter, better version of themselves in turn to help transform the world. So we are excited to welcome you into this space. And we also offer public speaking services. You can go to booksoleil.com if you want to check out this t-shirt that I'm wearing and so much more. Again, we have stuff for children and for adults. You can go to soulriseessentials.com, and this is how you spell it. It's SOLRISE essentials.com. And if you join our email and text message, the Soul Tribe VIP group, then you can get 15% off your first order. So you definitely want to take. And I'm just so excited. So again, stay tuned. Get up on that email list so you can be one of the first people to know what we're doing in July. Because last year we had an in-person event and it was dope. And I've been getting some downloads and some ideas on ways that I want to make number 4 special. So it's very, very, very possible we would be having another in-person event. Baby, you don't want to miss it. And again, my name is Soliel Lindsey. I'm not only your host of this podcast, but I'm also the owner and founder of Soul Rise Essentials as well. So when we like I say every month, we do this once a month for our podcast live. I always like to issue a trigger warning because sensitive topics sometimes can be discussed. I mean, it's a mental health podcast; anything will come up, but we have fun. But this is for information and entertainment purposes only. We are not treating or diagnosing anyone, and we do often have a lot of people that have credentials beside their name, but when they come in here, when they sit in this soul seat, they are strictly humans sharing their lived experiences. So Miss Shannon does have some credentials behind her name, although she's not a mental health professional. She is still solely a human sharing her lived experience as she thrives through her life. So again, you can catch this episode and all others on our YouTube channel. Just type in our business name, Soul Rise Essentials, or you can type in Soul Seat Conversations and you'll see the playlist on our YouTube channel. And then you can also log into our Instagram as well to see that as well. Last but not least, if you have a mental health or resilience story to share and would like to be considered for our podcast, you can email us at mystory@soulriseessentials.com. That's SOL Rise Essentials with an S.com. All right, Shannon, you ready, girl? We're gonna bring you in the room. Come on in the room. Y'all know I can sing, huh? Hello, gorgeous.
Hello, how are
I'm
you?
great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Happy Mental Health Awareness Month. Did you know it was Mental Health Awareness Month?
I did. I'm not in the mental health forum, but I am aware of all of the things that are going on. So yes, yes, yes.
I love it. Can you hear me pretty good?
I hear you well. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, welcome to the Soul Seat, and thank you for agreeing to be a guest on our podcast.
You're welcome.
And I just would love for you to introduce yourself to the people, and then we're going to hop into some segments that we do here. So let us know who you are and what you
Sure.
do.
My name is Shannon Jones. I am a native of Richmond, Virginia, registered nurse. Proud auntie, good friend, sister. I am the author of Beast. Oh, excuse me, I'm about to tell you the name of a website. I am the author of Hurt Daughters, a memoir by myself, newly published author book, as almost 2 years old in October. It's a memoir by myself, and actually it discusses things. I want to pretty much say it's mental health. I think all the trials and tribulations and life stories we go through are based off of mental. I'm a registered nurse by trade and a mentor to many and work with a lot of people in the community to just help out. I met you in the community, you
Yeah.
know, so trying to do great things. So thank
Yeah.
you for having me.
You are doing great things and a woman who wears many, many hats. So thank you for what you do in the community and as a nurse. And we are definitely going to get into all of these life experiences that have brought you to where you are now and even made you an author. That is my dream. Actually, I want to write a few books as well. So I commend you
Thank
for that
you.
because I know that's not an easy thing to do. So, before we hop into the other things that I want to ask
Of
you,
course.
the first segment that I like to do here is just some mindful breathing. Have you ever heard of box breathing or square breathing?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So let's get into it. So Tanya, I know you're new here. People watching, I know y'all might be new here, and if you're watching the replay, if you are not new, then you know we do this every single month on our podcast. But just get to a flat surface, and if you can, put your feet on the ground and relax your body. And we are just going to close our eyes again, just feeling relaxed. And we're gonna for our version, Shannon, we just breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and then we release for 4 seconds. Ready?
Yeah.
We're going to do that 4 times.
Of course.
All right. So inhale when you're ready. That's 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, and release. Inhale. Second one. 4 and hold and release. Inhale. 3 and hold and release. Last one. Inhale and hold. Release. Thank you for doing that with me. How you feel?
I feel great. I needed that.
Yes. I know you've had a long day at work and I've been working as well. So it's always good to just recenter when we get on this podcast and just, recenter and let everything else that we were doing stay where it is and we just be present in this moment. And it really helps to create like an immediate relaxation response. It's so easy, it's accessible. So I love just teaching people that by showing them, leading by example on our
Exactly.
podcast. So
Love it. Hmm.
yes. So on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, how's your mental health today? How you feeling?
Oh, my mental health is the 3.5.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's stable.
Yeah, that's just, yeah, 3.5 today. It really is, you know? So that's why I'm grateful that you did the breathing exercise because I needed to let out some carbon dioxide that did not need to be in me from the work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And at the end of the day, I want to always tell myself that everything is just gonna be okay.
Yes, I love that. And you have to tell yourself that. I always like to share how I'm feeling as well. I would say for me, I'm about a 4, 4.5 today. And if you've been watching the podcast, you'll see the last few months, honey, I've been dragging, honey. I was not no 4, 4.5. So that makes me good to know that I'm feeling good. And just in this moment as well, that's
Yes.
how I feel. I took me a nap earlier
Mhm.
and I've been resting. My son is away for the summer for a few weeks with his dad.
Nice.
So mom is recharging. That's the first time that's ever happened.
Hmm.
So I'm feeling good. I'm tapping back into like myself, Soleil, who I am before motherhood, and just being able to get a proper night's
Love that.
rest. Okay. So
Hmm.
I feel really
Good,
good.
good. I'm happy for you with that.
Thank you so much. So I have some notes
Okay.
here and want to get into your journey, like as a young Shannon. And I actually read something today that resonated with your story, and I can't wait to share that with you. But who were you? We know who you are now, doing all these great things in the community, shining your light, being a nurse, an author, mentor, all these different things. But I always love to tap into people's stories when they were younger because there's always an origin story that explains how and who we are and how we became to be that person. So who was little
Give
Shannon?
me an age with Shannon.
Hmm. As early back as you want to share what you can remember.
Let's start at elementary school, Shannon, about the first grade. So what is that, 6 or 7 years old?
Yes.
Okay, six or
Yeah.
7 years old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shannon was is Shannon was a sweet little girl, quiet, and parents reared her to life. You do this. These are the good things. These are the bad things. And, came from a nurturing home, two young teenage parents, first grandchild on both sides.
Oh,
So I was well loved, you know, both paternal and maternal sides of the family, love, everything, teaching me the right things and stuff. But I guess because it wasn't the time, you don't know that there's evil. There's bad things out here, mean people. Everybody's not like your home front and stuff. So 6 to 7 year old Shannon, she's going to what, first grade, and she doesn't know that kids can be mean and stuff. So spirit is a little hurt and stuff. So she's going home and your parents is like, I have to tell her about life.
mm,
So that's when things start. So then she goes to the second grade, and that stuff builds up because it is what it is. You can't hide from it. You can't run from that, right? So that's from like then you go to the third grade and fourth grade, and then fifth grade, you're 12. Okay. You get a little bit of stuff, it is what it is, but you don't know that next phase, that preteen life is ready to start.
yeah.
So pretty quiet, only child for 8 years, and then mom, I have a sister who has two amazing sons, my nephew and stuff like that. But for the first 8 years, it was just me, learning life, trying to figure it out at that age.
Yeah, yeah, because like you said, you came from a very loving family, and it is different. As a mom, I can resonate with what you said about your parents having to
Hmm.
sit you down and talk to you about, oh, yes, actually not all roses and sunshine out there. You getting loved in your home, you have a beautiful, supportive family outside of your home, your extended family, but then people start to creep in and the real world starts to show up. That is a very tough conversation to have with your child. How did they have that conversation with you, if you remember?
I do remember that's one of the gifts that I have. So I'm trying to figure out how, okay, God, you gave me this gift of memory. Because to be honest with you, I can remember things starting at the age of
Mm,
3.
Mm.
Looking at me, one of my friends, they'll be like, how do you, most of them, you remember that stuff? It just flows. So I need to really figure out what I can do with this memory. Give me some
Yeah.
other things connected with it. But I do remember it. And they were honest. I don't have parents that both father, my mom, and father, natives of Richmond, Virginia. Mom grew up in Churchill and moved to Highland Park. And, dad is from certain areas, and moved to Highland Park. It was pretty funny because one grandparent lived on Second Avenue and the other one lived on Brooklyn Park Boulevard adjacent. So I used to get my mom's brothers to come pick me up from the other grandmother house, and I used to ride on the handlebars of the bike, and come home. But they were honest, told me the truth, did not sugarcoat anything, because life is not about whipped cream with the cherry on top. Life is what it is. The
Yeah.
problem is my makeup. I'm a sensitive little girl, so that stuff was scary for me.
Mm.
So I had to learn how to emotionally be able to deal with that stuff. And I'm gonna be honest, that took years.
Mm. Thank you for sharing first
You're
off.
welcome.
So you're saying you dealt, it sounds like to me you dealt with some bullying starting at a very young
I
age.
did.
And those scars, people don't talk about it. And first of all, let me back up. I'm from Highland Park too. I had no idea. We
Yes.
lived on 4th Avenue. We lived off of Brooklyn Park Boulevard. Yeah, so when you were saying that, it was bringing up all those memories. I
Mhm.
had no idea.
Love
But
it.
yes, people don't talk about as an adult how those scars. I can remember me cutting my hair due to alopecia, being so scared because I thought that people were well, I didn't think anybody was going to say anything about me. I felt bad about how my head shape looked because I was bullied for my head shape in middle school. And I remember as an adult sitting here with a whole baby breastfeeding on me, just scared, not scared, but just feeling insecure and remembering all those things that this specific girl and her group of friends would say about
Right.
me. And people don't talk about, and that happened in middle school. They don't talk about how those scars, they cut deep. And sometimes when you go throughout life, for me, they will reopen due to life experiences. But it sounds like for you, this is something that you live with for a very long time, starting at a young age. And people always think that words are just words. And we do tell our kids, I tell my son anyway, people can say what they want. It's what you answer to and what you believe about yourself. But I don't know if that's actually, translating to him at this age, because the truth of the matter is, I know that kids are cruel, and I know that those words really can stick, especially if
Mhm.
you hear them long
Right.
enough.
People in general are cruel. You just have it. They are. Mhm.
Yeah. So what were they bullying you for, if you remember?
Oh yeah, one young girl just used to bully me because she just pretty much knew I was timid. I wasn't about the fighting life. My mother didn't teach me to fight people or my parents to just go out here and fight. So I'm sitting here looking like a deer in headlights. And I remember one young lady, she did bully me. She punched me in the stomach. And my dad went out there and gave her the business. He didn't care. And he was like, go get your mama. And I would, it was terrible. And I'm sitting there like, but you don't know because you're so innocent.
Yeah.
And you know, Daddy, that's my friend. My dad is like, you don't have friends. Your friends are your mama and your daddy. But what is a 6-year-old or seven man? You don't know at 6 or 7. But I want a
Yeah.
friend. He's this whole mature adult. They bullied me as I started getting older. I got letters on why I wore certain clothes to school. Why you got to wear these designer clothes to school? And this is my life, how my parents did and bought things for me. I don't know that other people, and wasn't even trying to find that out, what you have, what you can't have, and that people are jealous of what you have. That's not a part of my rearing, my mindset, maturity level, anything. So I'm sitting here like, what? You really wrote me a letter, you took the time to ask me that, and then you thought I was going to come out of my class and answer you as if I was supposed to.
Yes, I'm so glad you're sharing this because it's a very different side of bullying that we don't hear about. Because
Mhm.
as you said, you were not that person that bothered anybody. You had a really good spirit, raised well, raised on love. And when other people are not raised on that and they can see that, it promotes insecurity to come out and rear its ugly head, and that jealousy and that envy. And people think certain conversations are not important to have with their kids
Right.
at certain ages, but we really doubt how much our kids can understand. On the flip side of what I said earlier, we doubt that. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't be having those conversations, because to yourself you think, oh, they're not going to understand. Because as I said, I'm like, I wonder if he really does understand, but I'm still going to talk to him about it,
Right.
you know? And the older
Mm-hmm.
he gets, the more we talk, the more I realize, okay, he did understand that. It
Mm-hmm.
did stick. You know, we keep having those same conversations. So we have to talk to our kids about bullies. We have to talk to kids about other kids who may not be raised the same way that they are, not even talking about materialistic things, but raised on love, you know, and have to sit your child down and talk to them. You know, there are people who are not raised like you, again, aside from material things, that if they treat you a certain way and you haven't done anything to them, it's solely because of that. They are jealous of who you are, who your parents are, how well loved you are, how cared you are. And that's sad that you have to do that, but you do, because you don't want your child to internalize it and make them think something's wrong with them. That affects their
Exactly.
mental health.
It does. And it can. You would think that, like, is something wrong with me? But as we get older, this is our norm. This was my norm, at the end of the day. But as much as I didn't fight or anything, what I did garner throughout the years for all of that is a mouthpiece.
Hello.
And I knew
And now they definitely don't like that. I can tell
how
you
to
that right
use
there.
knew how to use it really well. Some words were not nice to use, and some words were, I could use them. You're gonna get back off me, leave me alone. But I was always mature. I was always around adults pretty much, but I knew there was a time and place for me to be around older adults, and I removed myself from those conversations. But older, I had my uncles who were like my brothers. They had girlfriends, so I would hang around them, and they taught me positive, mature things. So a lot of things I knew they weren't even on my level, so I didn't even engage in certain conversations. And then at the end of the day, I was always, and I can be honest to say this, I'm a natural born leader just by my own DNA. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
natural born leader. So, you know, you do what you need to do, but I can be on my
Yeah.
own. I can walk by myself and be by myself. Even at this time, right now, if, my friends and my sissies and my peeps, they don't call me or whatever, then I'm like, okay, we good, and I know they good. We're just doing our different things, but I'm out here just doing Shannon and just making sure I'm keeping my house clean and all is
Yeah.
well at the end of the day,
Yeah. Love
So that,
that.
and I'm confident, even though I do have my personal
Right.
insecurities, but for the most part, I'm confident,
I
and I
love
don't
that.
mind saying that I have insecurities. We all do.
Yes.
So I need to put that I do have insecurities about a
Absolutely.
lot of things, and it's okay.
And it is okay, because we're all human. I'm gonna put a pencil in that because I'm coming back to that. I wanted
Okay.
to read a couple of these comments. What's up, Jordan? Thanks for joining. Hey, Lon Creed. They said that's true. Sweet Melody 16. Sadly, society plays a role in that. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Thank y'all for commenting. Stay engaged. Y'all know we love an engaged audience as we watch, and definitely share with some more friends of y'all's. You're just joining. This is episode 44 of Soul Seat Conversations, our mental health podcast, and we have our guest thriver in the Soul Seat. Her name is Shannon Jones, sharing her story. We were just talking about how she grew up, her childhood, some of the things that she had to deal with, how it affected her mental health, how she moved through it.
Hmm.
And we were just talking about how kids can be mean and how they can affect your kids' mental health, and how we as parents, if you have children, are responsible for having hard, tough conversations, real conversations with your children, because some of this stuff we can combat when we teach them their worth, who they are, whose they are, and what's the word I'm looking for? Nurture their natural abilities and let them know that there's nothing wrong with
Right.
being loved and having nice things and having confidence and being able to speak a certain way, affirming that, so
Hmm.
that when people tell them anything different, that it doesn't even bother them. So loving this conversation, and wanted to again thank you for sharing. I put a pencil in what you said about being confident, but still being confident enough to acknowledge that you have insecurities.
Right.
That is something that I deal with. I actually heard
Hmm.
a term today called the tall poppy syndrome, which I had never heard of before. And it's been something I've actually been talking to my therapist about and a lot of close friends about, because when you are confident and you are a natural born leader, you have certain natural abilities that don't come as easy to other people, or people flock to you. There's a certain light, that it
Hmm.
factor that you have. It can make you a target. And when you experience negative relationships or experiences with people because of those things, it's hard for you to verbalize it, because if you do, people gonna think, oh, she conceited, she thinks she all that, who is he, ain't nobody da, da, da. But you go throughout life long enough seeing these repeated experiences with people, like, why they don't like me, I ain't do nothing to them, I just walked in the room or whatever. People don't like how other people like you, but you can't say that because, again, you look conceited or you're just making it up. Ain't nobody paying that much attention to you. And so it's kind of the opposite of imposter syndrome, where you actually, with tall poppy syndrome,
Right.
I think I'm saying it right. You know who you are, and other people know who you are. And sometimes they try to downplay you or humble you because of that. And it can be a very isolating experience. What do you think about that?
I do. It's facts, because I've been told that who I am by confident people who don't have a problem with themselves, to
Come
say,
on.
Shannon, you do that. Your confidence, you are. I had a guy tell me you had an it factor. And I had never heard of that before. It was like in the early 2000s. I'm like, what is that? And he told me. But what people fail to realize is that we have a spirit that walks outside of us, that guides us, that infiltrates and shows that. So you walk in and be who you need to be for you. Now, it took me some time to get there on who I am, but when that spirit is naturally on you, you can't stop what the shine and the glow and the flow that God has before you or on you. And
Yeah.
he puts it out there to let these people
Who he
know.
is.
They don't realize it, especially the ones who not spiritually intact or know who he is or even know themselves. But it took me years, but now, I know who I am, and I walk in that. I'm Shannon. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I've said some bad things. I hurt people
Yeah.
intentionally and unintentionally. I just
Yeah.
did. And I may do it again.
Yeah.
But we all are who we are. I
Yeah.
don't I go out here to try to be the best me, to try to provide and give love. I compliment people. If I
Mhm.
like it, I see them, I tell them what I see. And every time I've done that, some people, I can be out shopping at the grocery store or anything, and people would just cry.
Mm.
And it just, you don't even understand the type of day I had, or what people never tell me, or how I look, and you know, you know what I mean? So now life, the way the world is rolling now, and especially this current climate and what's shining around, what we got going on. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I don't have time for the foolishness.
That's right.
I can't put foolishness out. I'm not gonna put foolishness out, and I'm gonna walk into my steps and be who He would have me to be,
Yeah.
and be. I might be 100% Shannon tomorrow, but then on Saturday you might see 25% Shannon, and she might not have all of that on there. But that's one thing about the Spirit is how you feel. He'll project something else.
Absolutely. And I love what you are saying. It reminds me of this little quote, little phrase, little colloquialism we say. It ain't what's on you, it's what's in you, baby.
Oh,
That's what they don't like. And they
oh,
can't take
mm-hmm.
that away. They
Mm-mm.
cannot take that away. That same thing, that same it factor, I think I've always had it. You can't go nowhere and not see me, right? It's this big
I like it.
smile, it's this aura, it's this energy, whatever it is. God gave me that. I don't know. You got to take that up with that man upstairs, okay? And it can be a gift and a curse, because again, that poppy seed
Mm-hmm.
syndrome. Hey, Robin, it is a real thing where I do know who I am. I've always walked in that. When you talked about what age you want to go back to, 8 years old, that's how old I was when I moved to Richmond, Virginia, and I'm coming to a whole new place. I remember going to schools, and my first day, people like, "Who you think you is? What you mean?" So that's, I didn't know at the time, but that's what that was. You
You
walk
done.
with a certain stride. You walk
Mhm.
like you know exactly who you are. I heard somebody the other, you just have, I heard two different things that made me go, wow, that okay, people see whatever this thing is.
Mhm.
One lady said, you're so certain. And I don't know any other
Love that.
way to be. I don't know, even when I don't know the answer, I'm certain that I don't know the answer, and I'm not about to act like I do. And then somebody else said, you just, it's this photo of me. They said, you look like you have so much resolve, a complete stranger. So people see things on us, even our children. You have to watch older people around children as well.
Mhm.
They see things in them that they probably don't even see yet.
That's that
So
ancestry stuff, and I believe in that. Your
Yeah,
answer,
so even
yeah,
though
I believe in that.
you had like the fashions and nice things and your parents kept you up, it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that. It was that thing that was in you that they recognize, and people see that and try to stifle that. And they want to kill your spirit. And it's not them per se, it's just their insecurities and what they haven't developed yet. They're choosing to let that overshadow, make them be a bad person essentially. So,
Right. But at the end of the day, I come from a mother who didn't have a lot. And that's why she probably over gave her two children. You know,
mm,
right. But she provided, both of my parents provided these things with rules. Everybody doesn't have as much as you have. I will never forget this. I was 16, 10th grade. I was, all right, dad. Because see, with people, my dad, it's just amazing. My father, 16, up until I graduated from high school, my dad was up in the house while we went to school as girls, making sure we were good. We left the house good. One day he stopped me at the step and he said, Shannon, I want you to know you have a lot of things that an average child may have, not have, excuse me, I have. I pray when you dot this door, he pointed at the door, that you remember who you are and that we give you these things because of the love and we provide for you, with extra, that you do not tease or downplay anybody for what they have. And I was like, I don't do that.
mm-hmm.
I am not that. He said, I just got to make sure and let you
Wow.
know this. So, you know, from at the end of the day, my name is Shannon Dershawn Jones. I do know who I am. I love who I am, but I would never go out here and hurt or disrespect or downplay anybody, especially people of color.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I come from. That's who I am. And over some material stuff that's not bigger than the God that I serve who provides for everything. When I
Mm-hmm.
go out here, when I pay my bills and when I buy anything, I thank him for the purchases. I thank him for paying the mortgage. I thank him that I can share things with other
Yeah.
people. So that's what it is. And it's just who people are sometimes, and the walk is just not nice sometimes, and it's hurtful.
It
Even at
is. Yeah.
53, I'm 53, and it still hurts to this day because some
Yeah.
people are ages, but their maturity levels are still
Like children.
stuck.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you said everything that you said because, first off, your dad, shout out to him for having that conversation with
Thank you.
you. And I do think it's ironic that when you went out that door, it was the opposite. You know what I'm saying? So that's the part he probably didn't know he needed to prepare you for until it actually happened.
Mhm.
But I love hearing that. I love hearing that your dad was showing up for you. Tanya said you are a beautiful soul. I
That's my
love that.
sissy. That's my
Hey,
sissy.
Sissy.
You sissy.
I love that. I love that. Love the conversation that he had with you and how he showed up. I love a good daddy. Y'all know, shout out to dads. Happy early Father's
Yeah.
Day. We have the Essential Dad t-shirt in 3 different colors. So if you're looking for a great Father's Day t-shirt, go get it. They sell out
Love
all the time. So don't
it.
go on to the website. Okay. Had to throw that little plug up in there.
Mhm.
But speaking of your dad, I know that as time went on, your parents separated. Talk to us about that and how it affected you.
Yeah, they divorced probably in my late 20s, and it affected me horribly. And to be honest, I'm not over that.
Mm,
I'm dealing with it. I have no choice. But my parents, I think, a lot of people who know me, my parents divorced, and my grandparents who were killed tragically is on the same level of me, of things that God just helps me with. But for me, I'm never gonna get over that. So that was hard, knowing that, my dad wasn't in the home anymore. And from my dad, who I grew up looking out the window because we only had one car, young, and he would leave the car home for my mom and he would ride his bike to work, and I would watch him out the window riding his bike until I couldn't see him anymore, you know, and to the dad who did my hair when I was younger, and I might have had helicopter little plaits sticking up, but he did it. He brushed my hair, he put my clothes. I remember standing on the end table, and he would cuff my jeans with my black and white bucks and suede shoes on to make sure the cuffs were even and neat, and I was well put together. Because again, we only had one car, so my mom worked at night. He worked in the morning, so we would go pick up my mom. By the time she got off after 7, my mom would take him to work. Then she would take me to school, go home and go to sleep. And then my mom would meet me at the bus stop to get me off the bus.
that's beautiful.
You see what I'm saying? saying?
Yeah.
So that's my life track, and I love that for me and myself and my sister, the love and things that we have, everything wasn't smooth and perfect, but it was what it was, the 95%, we had it, but it affected me really. It hurts. It
Mm,
hurts, it hurts.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. And to
Mhm.
say that you are still dealing with that and grieving that marriage, that's powerful. That's deep. How do you feel like that has affected your mental health at all?
I mean, I just come because I think the issue is, to really be honest, is that I'm so emotional. I might be over emotional a little bit, to be honest. I don't, and it just hurts. It feels like somebody punched me in the stomach, and at the time, years ago, I used to always just feel embarrassed, but just because other people experience certain things and they go on with their life, some people are equipped to just downplay and bury stuff. Come from that. I need to talk this thing out. I
Let me
want to
tell you
figure it out.
something.
And
That
I
is
need to talk and get it, because I'm not downplaying nothing with all this mouth, sometimes. But no, so this thing hurt me or whatever. But it is what it
I
is. But one thing I do
mhm.
do is that I always, in the midst of all of my fights, and I pray that everybody that's listening to this live, whoever you believe in or whatever, go to the throne, pray,
Mhm.
ask God to help you. Ask Him to show up in ways that you know Him, and to show you that He got you and that He's going to provide a way. Because one thing's for sure and two things for certain: He comes and He helps.
Mm.
He advises, He counsels, He loves, He hugs, and He does provide a ram in the bush.
You better preach, honey. I love this. First off, there was something that you said that really stuck out to me, and I wanted to dig a little bit deeper in this.
Sure,
You
please.
said with your personality, you feel on a very deep level. You feel everything. You want to talk about it, you got to dive the same way. We ain't just gonna scoop past that and act like it did not happen. That's just how I'm set up,
Hmm.
and I'm not gonna feel any kind of way about it or let nobody else make me feel any kind of way about it. And I do see a question. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask you that in just a second. But I love how you said some people are equipped. Like people, what I want to say is people have different capacities. People's makeup are different. I have a twin sister and we grew up in the same exact house. And our needs are very, 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 very different. We had the same parents, the same upbringing, but things that hurt me, she ain't even phased by. And
Isn't that
then
crazy?
yeah, and then vice versa. Something I don't care about, she don't care about. Vice versa. Something I don't care about, she care about, right?
Hmm.
And so when people try to rush your grieving process, or they try to say you still mad about that, or you need to just get over, I
Oh,
can't.
I hate that phrase.
I hate that phrase as well. And that whole let it go. There is a point in our lives where we do have to let some things go.
Facts.
But we cannot, like you said, as a society, especially where we are now, we've gone far, but it feel like we going back a little bit. We can't just keep sweeping stuff under the rug and act like it doesn't exist because you don't want to feel comfortable. You don't want to feel uncomfortable. So I love what you said. Keep on voicing your feelings and having your feelings. I remember I was having these bad panic attacks, and I still have them sometimes, but not as much as when I was younger. They were way more intense. And
Hmm.
my dentist, who of all people had a black male dentist, he said, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah." And I was telling him about the stuff that I was going through. And he said, "You know what? But at least you still feel." He said, "You're not desensitized." He said, "There are so many people who are desensitized and who can't feel." Now, I'm not advocating for panic attacks. They are very scary.
Oh, no, no, no.
But I understood where he was coming from. So again, shout out to you for feeling and dealing.
I do feel and I do deal, probably more than others and probably more than I probably need to sometimes with certain things. But yeah, and to answer her
Yeah, I
question,
think
yeah,
you did mention the
the
embarrassment.
embarrassment.
Yeah,
I don't like being
yeah,
embarrassed.
yeah.
At that, I'm like, your parents divorced, and I'm like, ugh, yeah, like it was that, and then amongst other things, you know what I'm saying? It was, yeah, it was rough at the end of the day, but I will probably say I'm good with it. It doesn't like bother me, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I still got a picture with them in my bedroom on my chest of drawer with them
Ain't
together.
nothing wrong
So
with that.
that's my
That
mom
was
and my daggone
that was
daddy.
a
So
beautiful time in your
union,
life.
waking up, and I never forget. in my book, I talk about it. One of my struggles was going to nursing school and learning how to take the test, and it was hard for me to take tests, and I felt like I couldn't all this process, critical thinking and all that, but to talk about why my struggle was in nursing school, I got through the help of God, but it wasn't my love. So that's another thing. But anyway, when I passed, I locked myself in the bathroom and I went to call the number to see if I passed my boards. And, they were saying, Shannon Jones is licensed as a licensed practical nurse. I'm like, I already know that because I'm an LPN. I was one at 19. Shannon Jones is licensed as a registered nurse of the state of Virginia. I threw the phone up, ran from downstairs in my room, ran up 2 flights of stairs, bust up in the room and haultail on my daddy and held him tight and cried like a baby. I cried so bad because my dad was a part of my journey with me, calling him from J. Sargent Reynolds downtown that I flunked the test. I don't know why I keep flunking these tests, feeling dumb. What is this? I know the information, I studied, but it was a different way to apply yourself with that.
Yeah.
But regardless of the tools that was needed for the time that I needed, and I flunked the test or all of that stuff, you know what? It wasn't even about all of that I'm older. It was about my relationship garnering with God and how he comes through and helps you and gets you through. And at the end, I flunked one nursing class, but it didn't matter. I cried. I got home, cried, looked on the side. I had a letter. I had a scholarship for $1,000 to pay for the class again, to pay for the next class, had enough money to buy supplies, and graduated still
Come
on time.
on, that's a testimony. I miss testimony time at church. I love that.
So I'm just saying, we don't know that when we're walking in it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
So and if everybody who's listening and stuff, you might be going through something now and it don't feel good,
Mm-hmm.
but embrace it. Oh, I know that's hard. Even in the hurt, embrace that thing and look in the mirror. And that person, when you look in the mirror, y'all, don't neglect the person in the mirror. Tell yourself, hey, I love you. This thing don't feel
Right.
good. It hurts, but we gonna get through this. And just ask God for anything. Give me a resource. Help me. Give
Yeah.
me a clue, God, and the evidence of your presence and your promises on this situation, So that's me. And one thing's for sure, I do know, I have a couple of fasts and stuff in my life that I'm a praying chick. Like, I can pray you out of something, help you. You know what I mean? But yeah, so yeah.
Oh, I love, love, love. Thank you for touching on nursing school. I also wanted to go back because you did touch on this a little bit, but the tragic passing of your grandparents. So you had to grieve the marriage of your mom and dad,
Well,
but you also
they weren't divorced at the time when my grandparents got
right,
killed. It actually
right.
happened after that too. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I was just saying like the tragedies, the things that you've
Sure.
experienced. So you had to grieve that, but then later in life, you had to grieve the tragic passing of your grandparents. What was that about?
That was horrible. And it was super scary that day too because I was at their house, right? And it was a Sunday. And and he I was sitting there with my grandmother and my uncle. I have one uncle who lives in North Carolina. His wife was pregnant with my cousin. And it was funny. My grandma had made me one of my favorite dishes. So, and it was string beans in a crock pot with smoked turkey in it. And that's like a meal. And so I'm like, and I sat down to eat it. And this weird premonition came. I heard my grandma talking, but she sounded like Charlie Brown's sister. And I was like, mm.
Mm,
And then it was like reality came back in. It was super weird. So I went on with the day. And I don't know if you're familiar with Virginia Center
mm-hmm.
Commons. The mall was pretty much kind of new at the time. Everybody was going. And so my sister was there and she stayed there um with my grandmother. My grandma might have left, picked my sister up from the house or whatever. But that night they were killed by someone in a working dump truck who made an illegal U-turn on the highway and he did not have any lights on.
Oh,
And my cousin was driving first because they were actually going to help a family member in need.
mm,
So my grandmother's brother was driving his car. He saw the dump truck. He reared to the right. My grandma's nephew was in front of them, but my papa, he didn't see it.
mm.
And he ran right in the back of the dump truck
Oh, so they
going
were in
50.
different vehicles. Wow.
And so,
Oh,
just I knew when my grandparents died.
yeah, you could just feel
No,
it.
they came to me.
Oh, wow.
I told my mother at the time. They just looked at me like, well, how did you know that? From the police report. Their spirits came in me and massaged my heart and went out
Mm,
one by one. And I was asleep and I had just started to go to nursing school. And why that's so tragic for me is my grandmother had took me downtown in February of that year to sign up in 94 for school. And they died in May.
wow.
And when I felt the spirits, I sat up. And when I sat up, I heard my daddy in the other room call my
Mm,
uncle to tell them that they were
mm,
killed. And I screamed. And I went upstairs and got my sister. And it was, I don't know, you don't know. I ran outside.
wow. You got some
Level.
spiritual gifts there as well.
Yeah,
You,
that's a little different too.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. You didn't been through some things. I didn't know when we talked before that they were in different vehicles. I just assumed
No,
that
they
they
were together.
okay, they were the
My grandparents
same
were
car,
together. They were in the same van, but her brother and her nephew were in two different cars in front of them.
but they
They saw it and reared to the right. But my
ooh,
papa didn't see it.
and
Didn't see the truth.
I know that affects them too. Being the survivors and missing
Hmm.
that's a lot. My gosh.
Hmm.
We also talked about I feel that on a deep level. That is very tragic. I
Right.
know I have my notes here that you were 22 when that happened.
Yep.
And your brother who was your cousin who was kind of like your brother was also
Yeah.
executed as well.
Yep. Executed by the state of Virginia in 1999.
Mm. How do you well I think I know the answer. Your faith clearly.
But I'm gonna be honest. I'm human. I don't always go to the throne. Sometimes I forget. And it's not sometimes until you calm down and come off of that. What you're feeling like at first. But that was hard. He was like my brother, and I had actually, I don't know if I told you, a week prior, I had went to see him
Mm.
before it was done.
Did you know what was happening? It was coming up? I'm sure y'all did maybe.
Yeah, we knew.
Wow. How did he what was that like, his conversation?
Me and my cousin actually went because both of us were real tight with him, and the whole scenery of that was just horrible. And because I've never been, and I was in a maximum security prison. What was the world? And then he was in this box room, not that big, chain. I'm like, what? That was inhumane to me, scary, and all of that. And we had to go, and I'm crying, and he stopped crying, stop crying. But I think for real, he was prepared.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was in nursing school when it happened, had to do a clinical, and I came home and my sister was at the top of the stairs, and I'm like, did it happen? And she just looked at me and I fell on the floor. But he had left me a message
Okay.
on a recording.
Okay.
Yeah. And he had also wrote me a letter. I still had a letter and keep it in my wallet to this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
A tough lady. And let me tell you, mental health is so real. And I love that you said you don't have perfect days all the time. And even though you encourage us to pray, which we know is powerful and supernatural, but we human. Sometimes we just be mad and we forget, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
You have those moments. So thank you for honoring your humanity and
Thank you.
for being
Welcome.
humble enough to share that with us. And that's what this podcast is all about. We're going to go through some things, it's going to affect us. And I always encourage people to just feel how you feel. You don't have to be so quick to try to move past a feeling. Some feelings we don't need to harbor in and labor in too long, but your feelings and your emotions, God gave them to us for a reason.
Right.
You
Yep, yep.
know?
And one thing's for sure, I do have great people in my life. You talked about Tanya, that's my sissy, ride or die. Both of us, don't know how to go to bed at the proper time at night to get rest because we're talking about life, we're talking about things, and have a good friend named Trina who is what did you say? I don't like that there. How you gonna fix that? I'm like, I ain't gonna fix it today because I feel like this. Okay. But the next morning, I'm gonna get something to show me about that subject and how to get through that. So my tribe is a beast
Yes.
because my tribe loves me. They let me vent, but they correct me. And they're not worried about how I feel with that. But it's the tone and delivery of everything.
Yeah.
And I
It's
have to work
love.
on that because I'm a true Aries.
Oh, you're Aries too.
I be
I understand. Say less. I know the struggle.
Lord, the struggle
Woo!
real.
We-
Especially coming from that 8-year-old who was like nice. And my mom told me when I got 16, she noticed a change. She said, I think you got tired.
yeah.
And I just start popping off. Like,
That was
so,
my sister.
yeah,
I was always the feisty one. That girl, when she went off to college, she got a little later than you did. And when she had her baby, yeah, the mama bear came out to play. That Aries came out to
that,
play.
yes. So it's like, with different things, and I don't really like the phrase, let's be real or keep it real. There's something about that it's just, I don't know, that's just
You
not
should already
one.
be being real. That's how Aries
Yeah.
feel. You should be real in the first place.
Yeah, but it's just who I am. But at the end of the day, I want to walk in and do the right things that I can do for myself and for others and stuff. And I'm so grateful for I still have the same best friend for over 40 some years from the age of 12. My best friend Chavez. She is like the bomb. And she's like, Shan, come on, you got this. She's on if you ever look at my website, that's her and my two goddaughters. But I just love my tribe because
The soul tribe.
that soul tribe,
Yeah.
right? The love is real and they uh love you, they bless you, accept you, what else? Everything in the heart. And I'm like, can I say how I feel? And what you asking me that for? Go ahead. But at the end of the day, it's just the love. We recognize that each one of us needs something different. I have something that Tanya doesn't have, and Tanya has something that I don't have, and we just like it's like on the telephone and the wires. We just giving it back and forth to everybody all the time, you know.
Yeah.
And so and I'm in a leadership role on my job, and leadership roles can be challenging, but you just try to give stuff that people don't have and give it back and do the best things. And one thing about me, though, I will say, if I run across something, I'm gonna find a way to educate myself, fix it, or whatever. That's just me,
Hmm.
because I always aim to build myself up to be the best that I can be. So those things are like that, and those are important tools to add to my toolbox. I want to duly note stuff, check
Yep.
myself with everything. So
Yes, love it. Shout out to Melody. She's being tested right now, but God got her. Yes, and now you have a Soul Tribe family behind you.
thank you, Soul Tribe.
Well, so I just wanted to shout her out in the comments. I didn't want to miss her comment, but I've been paying attention to that. Shannon, this has been wonderful. We are almost to the end. I'm loving you
So
sharing
fast.
everything. I know, and I did not realize not only are you from Highland Park, but you're an Aries sister too. That's
Yes,
amazing. Love that for us.
yes,
That
yes.
explains a lot about our
Hmm.
personalities, our
Hmm.
natural born leaders, actually. But I wanted to talk with you more about your book. Before we go into that, is there anything else about your story that you feel is important to highlight?
No, everybody, whatever your story is, embrace it. Just embrace it. Put your belt on with it. Put it in the knot of your belt hoop that you can for the day. You might can tie it a little tighter someday and feel good, but then you might need it a little looser because things aren't feeling well. But at the end of the day, just embrace it and just ask God to help you, guide you on whatever area of your life that's bothering you. And like you said, if you need to go seek help, go seek help. Getting a therapist, there's nothing wrong with that, to get that stuff out you, and then it can help you with some tools and stuff to be able to deal with certain things, because we're all whips, work in progress. So
Mm, I love that. And I remember us talking. And what I put on the flyer after our conversation was moving to the beat of her own drum. You know, if you are that person similar to us and your energy is different, you're eclectic and people don't understand you all the time. And sometimes you might be a little loud and say what's on your mind. Be yourself, be mindful, practice
mhm.
EQ, and read the room, emotional intelligence, but still be yourself. Wear what you want to wear. You know,
Exactly.
if you
Mhm.
if you do it a thousand things in this lifetime, so what? You alive and can't nobody tell you what you can do. Try it out.
Period.
Be
Period.
yourself and
Mhm.
move to the beat of your drum.
Thank
Everybody
you.
else is taken already, so be
Yeah.
yourself.
Thank you. I will.
Yes, yeah. That was look, that was on behalf of you and I to everyone else listening for sure.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So let's get into this book. You wrote a few books. So talk to us about those and talk to us about who those books are
No,
for.
I wrote one
Uh,
book, just one
oh,
book.
okay. I
Yeah.
don't know why I thought so. Okay. Yeah, talk
Mhm.
to us about your book and who you wrote it for.
I wrote, this is my book, Hurt Daughters, a memoir by myself. And The story about my book is I didn't write it for anybody because I was told I had to write it. It was a divine intervention calling when the pandemic hit, and I was sitting on the couch watching BET, and they were getting really, everybody's trying to figure out how we're gonna do this thing because we're stuck in the house, right? So I just heard God say, Shannon, write a book. And I'm a little feisty. And I'm like, God, I ain't writing no book. You know, I couldn't write a paper in school. I'm sitting here scrambling. That was special for me. Shannon, he said, Shannon, you have a laptop and you have Word on it. Just get to typing.
Mm.
I didn't know what to do. So from August of 2020 to March of 2021, I just did what he told me to do. Called my cousin who had prophesied and told me about a few years back, early 2000, that I was going to be an author of a book. Okay, but I had to be honest and come clean and tell him that I wrote a book and I just need somebody to help me publish it. And he was like, "Oh, I got somebody." Lady called me the next day, and that was that. Sent the manuscript, did that, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. But it's a memoir by myself, and it talks about that 8-year-old Shannon, pretty much up until when it was published. At the time and age that I was, I sold out twice, trying to sell out for the third time. But it's about the young 8-year-old Shannon, talking about the trials and the tribulations. I talk about my grandparents' death, my parents' divorce, my cousin passing, nursing school, amongst some other things. And just to let everybody know that life does happen, that when you feel all alone, you're not. And that at the end of the day, you will get through it.
Yes,
You will, and you feel so good when you see the light at the end of the tunnel dealing with that situation. So
I love it. How can we find your book to support you and help you sell out for the third time?
oh, thank you so much. Foreverbestill.com. It's in my Instagram is Forever Be Still, and the link is on there. But foreverbestill.com, spelled correctly, all one word.com.
Love it. Thank you so much
You're
for being a
welcome
thriver, sharing your story and being such a
for
great
having me.
guest. And
Thank you.
just sharing, the real and the raw and the authenticity is very appreciated.
Likewise.
So, one last question before you head
Yeah.
out. What do you do? And when I ask you, what do you do? I mean, what is keeping your mental health stable? What's bringing you joy in your life? How do you cope with life?
Simple. One day at a time.
Love that.
That's it. One day at a time. And I can only take what happens one day at a time. And then I put it in different files. you know?
I love
Oh, I deal with that tomorrow. Oh, I can try to handle that now. Oh, let me call Sissy and ask her what to do with this. I just finished calling my sister. She on the laptop. Look, the thing is, I'm type A, and I was like, they done charged me some on this thing, and I don't appreciate this. She was like, oh, well, it is what it is. They see your history, don't worry. But I'm type A. I don't want that on my history. I don't want it. But, that's the stuff when you can tell me you can let that go. But again, I'm just saying that because these things happen. It's real. It's life stuff.
right.
It's the small things. People need to hear this stuff. But one day at
One
a time. My grandma told me to take life one day at a time. And she also told me, which is my disclaimer for a lot of stuff, she said, just because you can, don't mean you should.
That's good. Those are my two mottos that I live by. I love that. Thank
You're
you so,
welcome.
so much. This has been episode 44 with Shannon Jones at Soul Seat Conversations. I'm going to make a few closing announcements. There should be like a little X up there to come on out, but y'all say bye to Shannon and thank you again.
You're welcome. So long.
Bye bye. Y'all, that was another amazing episode. If you want to see it and be able to scroll through it and press pause and all the things and catch those gems that she dropped on us, this episode will be up on YouTube. You can follow us on YouTube as well. Thank you all for joining us in the comments and live and being present and supporting us and supporting Shannon as well. She is absolutely amazing. So you can again go to foreverbestill.com to purchase her book. Let's have her sell out. Okay. She's also a public speaker. So if you want to book her, you can go to foreverbestill.com. Y'all, wonderful conversation. Y'all know we do this every week. I mean, every month, not every week, Lord Jesus. I got enough on my plate. Thank you, Travis. Hey, boo. So we do this every month. We will see you again next month for episode 45. Shout out to the Soul Tribe, the best tribe. Again, our 4-year anniversary is in July. We dropping something major. If you want to be a part, go to our website, soulriseessentials.com, and put in, well, get on our email and text list to get 15% off, but also so you find out exactly what's happening and be the first so you can have bragging rights, okay? Thank you, Tanya. Blessings to you as well. If you made it to the end, if you're watching this live or on the replay, leave some sunshine emojis down in the comments. Until next time, y'all, remember to mind your mind and shine your light. I'm your host, Soliel Lindsey, and I'll see you next month. Peace.